So the next session today is about a Hyderabad company called Portal Player and its contribution to iPod's success by someone who is considered to be the architect of high-tech city and for that matter, for the IT industry in South India, Mr. J.A. Chowdary. A few words about him. Mr. J.A. Chowdary, also popularly known as J.A., is considered one of the chief architects of the IT industry in India. And Mr. Chowdary is credited with developing the IT industry in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. He is one of the key architects of Hitech City and Cyberabad in Hyderabad, and also played a major role in founding Triple IT Hyderabad. As a member of the IT task force set up by the then CM of Andhra Pradesh, Mr. Chowdary ensured a healthy growth of the industry. He also contributed to several reputed organizations like ISRO, BHEL, Portal Player Private Limited, and NVIDIA Graphics Private Limited. He is currently the co-founder and executive chairman of Talent Sprint and also the chairman of Monarch Infotech Services. So he is here today to talk about his company, Portal Player's success in contribution in iPod success. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for a very nice introduction. So first of all, I would like to congratulate all the promoters of August 1st for bringing a great event to Hyderabad. Hats off to them. I was just going around the stalls. I met a lot of startup companies, and some of the companies are growth stage companies. And I was really surprised to see the kind of maturity that has come for the startup ecosystem in Hyderabad. I was the one who was promoting this ecosystem to happen when I was with Software Technology Park. Those days, I was operating out of, how many people are aware of, there's a place called Maitrivanam in Hyderabad? Okay, good. So now Maitrivanam, that Amirpet area is famous for what? Training, right? I was told that is the largest training hub in the world at one location. Somebody was telling, if someone in Silicon Valley, if they want to switch a job from the current job to the next technology, they will take a flight to Hyderabad and go to Amirpet and find out what are the new courses happening in Amirpet. See, that's how our Amirpet training hub is so famous for. No other training hub can really steal away that kind of a credit. That happened because of the Maitrivanam building in 1989 when I came from Bangalore. I was looking for a building to start India's first incubation facilities in the software area. Government of Andhra Pradesh, the then government combined Andhra Pradesh, they said, no, you are IT related, so why don't you go to ECIL? I said, ECIL is too far away, and the startup companies cannot happen if I set up the facility in ECIL. In fact, I ran STPI from a remote location in, there's a place called ETDC, very close to ECIL. First few months I was operating from there. Afterwards I realized, if the software has to happen, it has to be in the middle of the city where people can come and access. That's how I identified the Huda building at Maitrivanam and came and started. That time when I came to Maitrivanam, there's no activity whatsoever. The whole building was empty. When we started, no IT companies worth mentioning in Hyderabad. But as any startup company, the same problems I also had. Finding out the place, finding out, even funds were not available for STP Hyderabad. I used to go every month to Delhi, Government of India, to get the salary bills for the STP staff in Hyderabad. So whatever the startup entrepreneur normally faces, funding is a problem, place is a problem, The market is a problem. Market is also was a problem for STPI. Whenever I used to go to attend any major events in USA, like Comdex or Consumer Electronics Show and all that, I tried to market Hyderabad those days. I used to tell, I am from STP Hyderabad, why don't you come and set up? Immediately they used to ask, where is Hyderabad, whether it's in Pakistan or India? This was the first question. Then afterwards I used to, no, it is in India, it is not in Pakistan. So how far it is? Is it nearer to Bangalore or nearer to Delhi, nearer to Bombay? So that was the kind of a visibility for Hyderabad those days. And it was very difficult for me to market Hyderabad. Any product, for example, unless, first of all, product has to be good. Afterwards, you need to have the capabilities to market. And I was not able to market the Hyderabad those days because the product was not good enough. Why product was not good enough? Hyderabad, who will come? There's no international flights. There's no international school. There's no IIT, no triple IT, no ISB. Roads are very small roads. No good buildings whatsoever. So who will come to Hyderabad? Education, particularly quality of education for IT industry, you need very good quality people. Even the number of engineering colleges those days were very, very few engineering colleges, one or two private engineering colleges in Usmania, JNTU. These were the colleges that time. So it was very difficult for me to market. Then we started working on how to improve the product of Hyderabad. Those days to get a email connection was a Herculean task. To get a 64 kbps email connection in Hyderabad, there is no facility except NIC. NIC, the government organization, they used to provide on and off that mail server used to be down. And that was the scenario for the data communications. Then I had to go to the state government. That time, Mr. Janardhan Reddy was the chief minister of combined Andhra Pradesh. I used to go to him and explain to him that without infrastructure, no company is coming here. Why don't you give me, first of all, land for setting up the satellite earth station? And they were not able to understand why I'm asking land for the satellite earth station. But finally, I could convince him and got land for the satellite earth station, and we got the earth station installed. When I installed the earth station and got the email facility, there were no takers. In Maitri One itself, there were about 10 startup companies were there, and they were not willing to, because they were not knowing what to do with an email connection or internet. And I was literally telling them, no, you take it almost free of cost. First 1 year, I'll give it everything free. Even then, I mean, internet penetration, those companies were basically, most of them initially, they were all domestic players. Then afterwards, of course, the other companies came to Maitri Vanam, and they are very, very successful companies. In fact, many people from government of Andhra Pradesh officials like Randeep Sudan and all that, so to send an email, they used to come to my office. They used to come and sit with me and send those emails because there's no email connection, and NIC connection never used to work. So why I'm telling you this story, everybody, whether you are in the government or private sector, public sector, they have to go through these pains of this startup. If you get discouraged that why these things are happening, not happening, why government is not responding, why companies are not coming, why foreign companies are not coming, if you get disgusted, nothing will happen. So it has to be continuous struggle, and you make it happen. So the same thing when I was going around the stalls, I felt very happy from 1989 to today. There's so much of development has taken place in Hyderabad. I feel very, very happy. So with this, I want to run through one important presentation. How many people know that Apple iPod main technology was developed in India? Apple's iPod. There's one gentleman waving his hand, a couple of them. The Apple iPod, many people think that the core chip, software, everything was done, designed by Apple, and Apple introduced that product, Apple iPod, in 1991, I think 2001. 2001, they introduced that product to the world. And everybody thought that it's all the design of Apple, the hardware, the chip, everything is made by Apple. Till somebody in China or Taiwan, they opened Apple iPod and scraped through the chips, which are their silicon chips. Then they found Portal Player's logo on it. Then he sent out a mail to all over the globe through the internet that Apple iPod is driven by a silicon chip built by Portal Player. That's when the people started knowing that Portal Player is the one created the core technology for Apple iPod. And that core technology was developed, majority of it was from Hyderabad. So we started this company in 1999. Basically, it was a Silicon Valley registered company. Many of the founders, except me, they were all from Silicon Valley. When we started, there is no market for jukebox MP3 player. Jukebox means hardware, hard disk based MP3 players. Those days, Sony was the leader in consumer electronics. There is Sony Walkman. How many people knows that there is a instrument called Walkman? Oh, good number of people. So Walkman was, everybody used to wear that small Walkman and while doing the jogging or whatever this thing. That used to be initially the cassette-based Walkman, then afterwards CD-based Walkman came into the market. And music player means Walkman, Sony's Walkman. That was the scenario. In that scenario, we thought that any cassette player or even CD player, if you want to, for example, if I'm traveling from Hyderabad to, say, San Francisco, if I have Walkman in my pocket, how many times I can listen to the same 7 songs or 8 songs? I get bored, right? So we thought that if you only can have a hard disk based MP3 player, where you can store thousands of songs, but hard disk, it has got its own limitations. Okay, it has got a drive, it has got a motor, all those, this thing, it consumes a lot of power. So how can you have a hard disk based MP3 player, at the same time it runs on the battery for at least 7 to 8 hours, so that by the time you reach San Francisco, still you have some more songs or you have some more batteries left in your device. So that was the idea that we had. And we got the initial funding from one of the angel investors in Silicon Valley, Gordon Campbell. In fact, he is the one who came up with this idea, and he told all the founders this thing. Why don't you all work on this idea? Then many of the founders, except me, they were all working in National Semiconductors at Silicon Valley. They all left. They called me one day. At that time, I was with Software Technology Park. Then, Jay, why don't you also join the founding team? We have this great idea and all that. A lot of people discouraged me, particularly working in the government. They said, you are working with Government of India, a lot of visibility is there. Now getting into the private sector, a lot of risks will be there. Afterwards, we don't know, after 6 months, if the company gets closed, what will happen to you? Many people suggested, why don't you take leave and go, if it is not working out, come back. But I thought that once I take a decision, if I have the option of coming back, I may not put my 200% into that company. I said, no, I will not take any leave. I will resign from government position and join that company. That's how I also joined. And we started this Portal Player, basically 3 main offices, one in San Jose, another one in Seattle. The major operations were in Hyderabad. In fact, after starting Hyderabad operations, I repented. Why did I start in Hyderabad? Those days in Hyderabad, except the services industry, little bit of back office work, getting the manpower, critical manpower was very, very difficult. That too, we want to slowly start up companies. You should not have such emotions. Oh, I belong to Hyderabad, I have to start only in Hyderabad. Or I belong to Vijayawada, I should start only in Vijayawada. It's a business we have to always look at from the business side. What makes business sense, we have to take that decision. That way, I mean, I think I have not taken the right decision. That's what I was struggling those days. Oh, had I gone to Bangalore, I would have easily recruited all the architects or the chip design engineers, firmware engineers, And in Hyderabad, nobody was coming, and it was very difficult for me to even start. So finally, what I decided, okay, anyway, I'm not getting the senior people. Let me hire all the fresh engineers out of the college. So I hired engineers from some of the local colleges and Triple IT Hyderabad. Then we sent all of them to USA for training. Some we sent to Seattle, some we sent to San Jose. San Jose basically all the chip related activities, silicon design related activities we used to have in San Jose. Whereas Seattle, which is closer to Microsoft Office, there all the firmware, software related activities. So we sent all these fresh engineers for 6 months training at these two places. Only after they came back, the real activity started in Hyderabad. Then afterwards, I mean, these engineers who were trained, they trained the remaining people, and we started growing, and things started happening. As I said, team is everything, and assembling team was a big task for me, and this is the kind of mistake that you people should not do. For IT, technology, for any company for that matter, where is the raw material for the company? That is the first question that you should ask for yourself. Based on that, you should decide whether it is Silicon Valley or it's Hyderabad or Bangalore or Pune or wherever, Timbuktu. Based on that aspect only you have to take, not based on I belong to this place, I belong to Anantapur, I have to start in Anantapur. That way things won't work. So after getting the angel funding from Gordon Campbell, we raised Series A funding from JP Morgan. That time, Gordon Campbell also through his VC, he also invested. And as I said, we had 3 major operations. But marketing was a major problem for us. As I said, we had a prototype. We designed everything. We had a hard disk based MP3 player. We had a nice silicon chip. We had our own codecs. We had our own operating system in the first few versions. Everything was there. We took that prototype. We thought that for consumer electronics products, Japan is the market. We went to Japan. There, you know how Japanese customers, in the first few meetings, they won't even nod their head. So we were not getting any signals whether they liking the design, liking the product. We were not knowing. Then repeatedly we started approaching them. Finally, we got few design wins from some of the major Japanese consumer electronics companies like Sony, Panasonic, Sharp, all these companies. We got the design wins. But unfortunately, none of these companies were willing to take the design wins to the production. Whereas whatever the money, little bit money we raised, and that money was getting exhausted because if you're only spending money, there's no revenue, not like services. Services from first month itself, you can start earning some money into the company. Whereas products, unless you sell the product, then only you start getting your revenues. Everybody was liking the prototype. We were winning the design wins, but no manufacturing. If you only manufactures, then only we'll get the royalties for the, or whatever the chips that we sell, we get the money. But unfortunately, that was not happening. Fortunately for us, Apple was actually, that time, they were only in the Macintosh. They were manufacturing, designing and manufacturing the desktops and the computer systems. But we came to know that they want to enter into the consumer electronics market. We got a call from Steve Jobs' office that why don't you come and give a presentation about your technology. In the first meeting itself, when the Steve Jobs was sitting in one corner of the conference room and we were asked to sit in the other side, opposite, diagonally opposite to him, and we were given about 40 minutes time to make our presentation. After the presentation, Steve Jobs stood up and said, we are doing this product. That was the biggest breakthrough for the company. Had this not happened, probably Portal Player wouldn't have been existed. We would have closed the company. So sometimes for a startup companies, though we put a lot of effort, sometimes you may get a lot of money also, but that's where we Indians, we believe that we need God's blessings also. So that was a big God's blessings for Portal Player, and that was a big breakthrough for us. And we got sometime in May, uh, we got a nod, official nod from Apple. From then onwards, we took almost 6 months. Entire team from India, from USA, we were all working on Apple's this thing, and in fact, majority of our employees were also in Apple's campus and working along with the Apple employees to see that this product is out in the market. As planned, the first product came to the market with 1 gigabyte the hard disk. That was the first Apple iPod, which came into existence in October 2001. The launch was very well received by all over the globe. But unfortunately, the initial numbers were very small. Fortunately, Apple not only released the hardware, they also released the Apple's iTunes. That is the entire ecosystem for the music to be downloaded into the Apple devices. Initial versions were only Macintosh-based the products which were launched during that time. So, though this year, 2001, was a great year for Portal Player, there is upside, but also there is a downside. That year only this 9/11, the September 11th incident took place. After that September 11th incident, when we are going to the markets for raising the funds, there are no funds. All the funds got exhausted. Nobody is willing to put any money. The whole market was in a very, very bad situation. We went to Europe, we went to all over the globe, and we were not able to find money. With great difficulty, few angels came to our rescue to cut a lot of expenditure. So there were many layoffs in USA, and they also said we are spending so much money for about that time we were having about 150 employees in Hyderabad. Oh, this is a huge cost. So cut off Portal Player India. See, when the investors are sitting in the board, we have to listen to them, particularly if they are the majority. We have to go by what they say. So finally, they said the decision was taken that Portal Player India will be dissolved. Then I thought, what is this? You are not taking the right decision. Because particularly when you don't have money, you can't do all these activities back in USA because it will be very, very costly. And all these engineers have been trained in the silicon side, the firmware side, all the software side, and losing these people. So many years we have trained these people, and it's a very cost-effective thing. But somehow the board was not listening to my argument. And finally, they said, no, we cannot fund you. You have to find your own this thing. Closed down Portal Player India operations. It's a true story. That's why some of the entrepreneurs, they can learn few things from the story. Then I said, I came back from my US meetings. I had all hands meetings with our employees. Before all hands meetings, I called all the division heads. Look, this is the scenario. They want Portal Player India to be closed. And all of you, if I close, everybody lose their job. But I was not worried about their losing the job and all that, because there so much of those days Intel was expanding, AMD was expanding. There's so much of demand for those trained people. And in fact, they used to come and show me, Jay, I got a job from Intel Bangalore, double the salary or triple the salary. So on that, this thing, there's no issue. But my worry was, these people were trained all these years, and Portal Player requires this trained manpower. At this point of time, assembling this team, because I know how much struggle I took when we started Portal Player India operations. With all this journey, if they are asking us to close down, that is a real asset for the entire company. Then I had a meeting with my managers. Look, this is the scenario. I don't want to close down because we have trained them, groomed them, and we created fantastic assets in terms of people. Somehow we have to figure out a solution. Then after all the deliberations with my management team, then they said, Jay, we have confidence in you. Whatever decision you take, we will all be with you. Then I had immediately all hands meeting. I told the same thing. This is a scenario, but I am trying to do something. At this point of time, I don't have any answers. What is that I need to do, and what is the solution? I don't have anything at this point of time. But I'll come back to you within a week's time. But all of them, they said, Jay, don't worry about us. If you want, we'll take the salary cuts, and we will give the full support to you. That's the kind of commitment most of my engineers normally, particularly those days, there's so much of demand for silicon engineers, and they were getting fantastic offers. In spite of that, they said, in fact, I wish I would have shown some of the photographs. We were in a small residential building in Prashashan Nagar. Our one of the rooms, boardrooms, the so-called boardrooms, whenever I need to have this kind of a all-hands meeting, all the tables and chairs, we have to keep them outside, and they have to sit on the floor, whether they are from IIT Madras or IIIT. That was the kind of a scenario was there. And one more thing, from Jubilee Hills checkpost, some of the employees, they used to come by walking, because those days not enough transportation was there to Prashashan Nagar. Even from the nearby autos also, they refused to come to that part of the city. But in spite of all the problems, in spite of the thing that there's no money in the bank, I don't have money in Portal Player India, but all of them said, Jay, we are with you. Whatever decision you take, we are going to be with you. Then I started talking to some of our local, those days, unlike today there are a lot of angel investors are there, individual investors are there. Those days, I'm talking about 2001 time frames. Those days, many people, they know how to invest in real estate and make money in real estate. Other than that, invest in technology, nobody knows that somebody can invest in technology and also can make money. So I was not successful in raising any money from Hyderabad or Bangalore that time. Then I started talking to some of my NRI friends. Fortunately for me, one doctor is a cardiovascular doctor in Los Angeles. He said, he calls me Sheshu. Sheshu, I am with you. I don't know about your company, what your company does and all that. You are asking me this money for taking care of your company. Tomorrow itself, I am worrying X amount, what is required, $500,000. He just wired without even asking what is the company is going to do, whether you're going to give me this number of shares or what is the valuation. Nothing. $500,000 was wire transferred to Portal Player India account. And I told our employees, look, from Portal Player as a product company, we are now changing it to services company. We have so much of manpower with us. Either we can do firmware related services or VLSI design services or software testing services. But we have a mechanism to get the orders. They all got convinced. See, I was not having any exposure to do services business. And I don't know how they believed that. Even today, I could not digest that this thing. But they believed that Jay can bring some services revenue into the company. See, belief is management by trust is very, very important. We were treating the employees like our own family members. Kastalu vastayi, sukhalu vastayi, but anitlonu they have to be with us. That was the kind of a concept. But fortunately, all of them believed in that story. They all stood behind me. Then Portal Player US realized that without Portal Player India's, they can't do any damn thing. Then they started requesting me, Jay, can we merge back? I said, no, we are not interested. Then after several negotiations, I made sure that including my driver got the stock options. With that deal, we merged the Pinex services back into Portal Player. Afterwards, the way they marketed Apple Nano, Apple Video, the iPod Nano to iPod Video, the sales, they became number one player in this area. And Portal Player, in the entire world, we had 98% of the market share of the digital jukebox market. 98%. So afterwards, we took the company public. We listed the company in 2003, 2004, I think. IPO in 2004. And we raised about $106 million. Our market cap was more than $600 million. So afterwards also there are some problems. You think that by taking the company public, everything is all done. No. Like Bahubali second series, so there is a second series to this. So the problem with us, we have just one customer. Though we had design wins, though we had products from Philips, Samsung, so many other this thing, their volumes are very, very minuscule. Majority of our revenue used to come from 92% of our revenue used to come from Apple. That was, I mean, lingering our this thing, but there is no other this thing. We don't have any other product to sell to the other markets and all that, because the whole effort has gone into this particular chip and the ecosystem, and Apple was leading. And whatever we were suspecting, the same thing happened one day. Apple, we had several series of iPods from Nano to Video. So one of the products, iPod Nano, they gave that the chip order to some other competitor to Portal Player. That was the real big blow to Portal Player, and our stock tanked. And that's when we realized, though, I mean, we were realizing that this is going to happen one day. Then we started working. What is that we need to do? Though we had a successful IPO and all that this thing, particularly for a hardware product company, you need a lot of R&D budget. In fact, Intel, NVIDIA, all these companies, they spend billions of dollars for R&D. And we don't have that kind of a cash in the bank to spend, I mean, so that to take care of all the ups and downs in the business cycles. That's when we thought, no, I don't think we can survive as a product company like this. It is better we sell the company so that we will have a good exit. But whom to sell? Apple may not be interested in buying us because they already found out some other customer for the chip. Then on what basis we can sell? What is the value proposition? Then we started working on, we knew that the smartphones are going to be in thing. Even Apple also started thinking about introducing Apple's iPhone. We thought somebody, either Apple or some company, will probably look for a CPU which is required for the smartphones. So we started developing that IP. Not only the silicon chip, and also entire the firmware, the software, everything. That actually helped us in getting this acquisition. That happened when NVIDIA came to us. Look, you have a nice IP. We don't have the application processor. We have only graphics processor with us. And you got an application processor which can get into the smartphones. That's when they started talking to us. And because of that IP, NVIDIA acquired us for $337 million. $357 million, sorry. So this is the Bahubali 2. So this is the story of Portal Player. Why I wanted to tell you all this thing, because for an entrepreneur journey, everything is not hunky-dory. Some people think that once they get some VC funding, everything is over. It's not over. Game is not over. There's so many ups and downs will be there. That's where, I mean, you need to have this resilience. You need to have, particularly what I have seen, the trust between the founders. Among the founders, you need to have trust. The trust between the founders and the investors, we need to have the trust. The trust between the most important thing which saved Portal Player is the trust between the employees and the founders. And that was the single most important thing which I give the importance on this thing. That's why when you have a company, make sure that your employees are treated like part of your family. That will definitely make your company a successful company. So with this, I want to thank the management of the August Fest for giving me this opportunity to share some of my experiences. If there are any questions, I can take.
Sir, what are the future challenges you are speculating now? Because there is always a change in the trend and there is always like the change in the digital marketing as such. Though you have merged this definitely you will have a plan B or the challenges which you have already felt in your mind.
No, as far as Portal Pay is concerned, once we merge with NVIDIA, so our responsibility, ownership doesn't lie. Now it's part of NVIDIA. We sold the company to NVIDIA. Afterwards, Portal Pay doesn't exist, right, as a company. When you merge your company with somebody else, the ownership, responsibility shifts to the company who is acquiring you. So with this acquisition, we transferred the entire responsibility to NVIDIA. I ran NVIDIA for India for 3 years as the managing director as a part of the sale agreement. Then afterwards, I want to venture out to my own this thing. I started two companies. One is in the education space called Talent Sprint, and the other one is the services in the ECM space called Monarch Enterprises Solutions. These are the two companies I have started.
I have one question for you. When you were looking for hardware manufacturers, when you had the chip and the software, why couldn't you raise funds to set up your own manufacturing unit? You could be the Steve Jobs of India.
Yeah, I wish I had that kind of a money. See, hardware manufacturing, for example, any fab, you require billions of dollars. So we used to actually outsource all the chip manufacturing to, even Apple doesn't have their own fab. They outsource it to TSMC Taiwan, SMC Taiwan, and all the UMC Taiwan. So we used to outsource our chip manufacturing to TSMC Taiwan. We used to get the chips manufactured there, and from there itself we used to supply to Apple. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you to make us aware of the story. One question that I have for you is, you have seen a lot of technologies, a lot of platforms, right, from the iPod to smartphones. What do you envision the next 5 to 10 years? What's the next platform? What's the next new technology that's going to come that can bring a revolution again in the entire world?
I think it's a good question. I feel this is the golden opportunity for tech entrepreneurs all over the globe, particularly in India. Why in India? We have so much of domestic market. I don't think this kind of a market is there in except in China. And this opportunity was not there earlier. Any new technology, why people used to go to Silicon Valley and set up the companies there? Because there is a market there. It's easy to go and meet some customers, prospective customers in Silicon Valley. That was the kind of ecosystem. But in India, this is an ideal situation. We have investors here. We have not only angel forums and venture capitalists, then PE, private equity people. Plus, we have the biggest market. Plus, we have, see, whatever problems that we faced when we started Portal Player, that situation is not there. If you want to employ a chip architect, they are available. Because all the multinational companies, whether Microsoft in India, Google in India, or NVIDIA in India, they are developing a lot of products right from specs to the end product. So we have all that kind of a manpower available. That's the reason why Silicon Valley of India, the Bangalore is getting a lot of startup companies because of the manpower. And next is, of course, Hyderabad. So I think this is the ideal situation, particularly the Make in India initiative of our Honorable Prime Minister. I think a lot of incentives are likely to come. I wish, many more technology entrepreneurs. In fact, I was just going through one of the stalls, and in fact, though it is an interesting product, but it's also disturbing to me why it is disturbing, when I met this entrepreneur, he said, sir, our product is going to automate, and any designs, he showed one design, electrical transformer, you give the specifications, and within 40 minutes, the entire bill of materials, design, AutoCAD drawings, everything was done. And for the same thing he was telling, normally it is taking 3 months time for five people. And that product, he has developed it from Hyderabad. That's one positive side of it, because that kind of products are being designed and developed in Hyderabad. But as an Indian, because we need to provide a lot of jobs. If you are not introducing here in Hyderabad, somebody else will introduce from Silicon Valley somewhere. But the problem is how we are going to create more job opportunities for our people. See, earlier he was telling 3 months for 5 people. Now it's replaced by 1 person in 40 minutes. So how many people will lose jobs? Several thousands of people will lose their jobs. If every product automation is automating the software development, software testing and all that, so we need to find innovative way of providing the job opportunities. That's where I once again request all the startup companies here, one thing you should keep it in mind, whatever you start, you should keep in mind that you are going to help few families by providing job opportunities to them. I think the next story will be the Startup India story, startup and stand up. I think all of you have to stand up to meet that challenge. Thank you once again.